Yeah, so in 2014, I was, at that point, working in elite sport, business was good. Son were 18-month-old, my wife was 6 months pregnant, expecting my daughter. And then over the course of a weekend, I literally went from fully independent, fully mobile, playing five-a-side with the lads to being in hospital bed, both my knees, my shoulder, and my wrist locked in place, and unable to walk, unable to shower, unable to look after myself.
If only they knew. The hub for young business minds.
So welcome back to another episode of the If Only They Knew podcast. Today I'm joined by Lee Chambers, the functional life coach who helps individuals and organisations with areas such as personal development, health, mindset and much more. We'll get into all of that a bit later on, but first, Lee, how are you doing? You good?
I'm well, thank you. Thanks for having me on, Ted.
No, it's all right. You've been busy today. I like your office.
Yeah, it's been a bad one today. Clients, calls, and all sorts going on.
Nice. I'm surprised because many businesses, obviously, you know probably better than me, many businesses through this period are struggling. So it's good to see that you are sort of still battling on.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a challenging time and some of my clients have had difficulties, but, in many ways, I'm there to support them. And out of these challenging times, a lot of companies are also being creative and innovative and finding new ways to make money, ways to pivot and use the skills. And yeah, out of, I kind of say out of the last financial crisis came Uber, came Airbnb. When times are really difficult, people come up with really good ideas.
Well, yeah, that's a good point. To be fair, it's something I sort of thought about, but not in depth. Like, yeah, you're right. I wonder what new businesses or old businesses with innovative ideas, what we'll sort of see. It'll be interesting. I guess we've got a few months left of lockdown, so there's a few months left to sort of to see these new ideas pop up. So yeah, it'll be very interesting indeed.
Yeah, there'll be some people disrupting industries and changing things. There'll be some people coming in probably with more sustainable and regenerative type businesses, because I think that's going to be a big thing going forward. But also the changes, people are going to be flexibly working and remote working more. So offices are going to change. Yeah, it's definitely mixing the bag up a bit.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, it's very exciting. But so is your story as well. I've been very excited for this podcast. I can't wait to dive in. So with that being said, let's go for it. If you don't mind, diving straight in, let's talk about what a young Lee was like, a younger Lee, should I say. What was you like at school? And how was things growing up for you?
Yeah, things were growing up. I had a fairly standard childhood. Our mum and dad worked hard to make sure that we stayed above the poverty line. And I kind of grew up in Bolton, which was, a northern town, not much going on, never really that exciting. But I was fairly clever. They kind of noticed that early on at school and tried to push me on a bit. But naturally, being a young lad, you're lazy. And I don't want to do all this extra work. But I kind of went through secondary school and started to try and push on a bit, but I didn't want to revise. I didn't want to put effort in.
Yeah.
And my parents were like, you're clever. You need to get to uni because you'll be the first one in the extended family to go, and we think you're talented enough. So try and apply yourself. But I just got to college and then just started partying, and it's difficult to take life seriously when you're young. And my parents were pretty hands off. They just let me do what I wanted, and I was relatively sensible. But what kind of happened is I went to uni and got there, and I was like, right, what now? And got through the first year because you can kind of cruise the first year of uni, just same thing as you did at A level. But then in second year I moved in, and first 6 months I was fine. But after Christmas I went back and I started to struggle. Started to realise I have to decide what I'm doing. I have to kind of transition from a lad to an adult. And I was thinking to myself, what does it mean to be a man? Who am I going to be when I'm older? And I started to have some, mental health struggles because I didn't have the tools to understand myself and dig a bit deeper. Didn't have that emotional intelligence. And, I found it hard to try and start, looking after myself fully and all the responsibility of my lectures and my job. So, it was quite a challenging time for me. And I started to isolate myself a bit in my dorm and not go out and do the things that I should have been doing. So for me, that was the first time in my life because in a lot of ways, my parents, made sure that I never had any really bad challenges to go through. that's the first time I kind of like hit a bump in the road in my life. And I was like, I don't really know how to handle this that well. So I actually ended up failing that year of uni and moving back home and then starting again. So that was like, it was difficult. But looking back now, I kind of realized part of that was due to the fact that I've got autism and didn't really understand it or understand why. And that kind of didn't really help in terms of, struggling. But I managed to get back into uni and then go through and graduate, which was good. Obviously, I managed to weather that storm and come out with a degree in international business psychology. So, that was quite handy. I was thinking, like, what do I want to do in my life now? Right, so I went and got a grad job at the Co-op Bank, and I was working in finance to become a financial advisor. This was 2007. Bad time. 6 months into my job, worked my ass off, showing that I was the graduate you want to keep. And then all of a sudden get pulled into the office. Yeah, loads of people above you being made redundant. Can't afford to put you through your financial advisory training. Week later, I was made redundant, let go properly. So I was like, man, what am I going to do here? Like, I'm thinking to myself, like, I'm going to have to really look and think, right, if I'm going to do something in my life, I'm going to make a career, if I'm going to train myself, it's all on me now. No corporation's going to do it for me.
Gosh, that must have been scary, though. That must have been really sort of a scary feeling. I guess almost quite exciting as well. But yeah, definitely must have been scary, right?
Yeah, and it was like, what it literally meant is that I needed to move back in with mum and dad while I tried to reassess what I did. Mm-hmm. So I got a cushy job at the council and then used my spare time to like set up a video game business.
Nice.
So I'd been to a business advisor when I finished uni about setting up a video game business in the video game wholesaling industry. And this advisor is like it's like a well-known businessman, like sound guy. But he literally said to me, looked at my business plan, said, this is a really good idea, but not for you. Like, you're too young. Look, you're a bit diverse. You got a bit of attitude about you. Yeah, this industry's full of guys like me. They're going to look at you and be like, I ain't trust this kid. He's going to come disrupt stuff. Like, nah. He's like, don't go into wholesaling. Go into coding. Go into developing. That's full of young people like you. That's well more up your street. And I was like, you know what? That kind of made me think, yeah, I'll just go on the grad scheme and see. 6 months later, I'm like, I'm going to prove him wrong. So that led to me starting a video game company from my bedroom.
Yeah.
And that grew incredibly quickly. And I was up to a 6-figure revenue first year in. And I was like, wow, man, this is taking off my life right here. But it was quite good. It literally led me to be able to buy my first house.
Wow.
Year in business. So I put a deposit down and moved out finally, like freedom.
Nice.
So I was still working at the council. And what I decided to do is, right, so I've got this business, got this cushy job. Let's get some qualifications in. So I went and did some qualifications in human performance nutrition and trained as a football coach. So I started doing my FA badges just on the side thinking, you know what? I want to coach one day, maybe I want to do this kind of thing. And it's like, it's just more skills to my bow. And I still had that thing about, having that financial advisor training taken away. I was like, no one is going to tell me I can't train myself. So yeah, I did that. And that kind of I worked at the council for a few years alongside the business. And it got to a crazy point where the business were earning so much money, I didn't really need to work, but I was still working.
Oh, wow. Why was that? Why was you still?
Because thinking about it, to be honest, in some ways, it was part because of what we're used to. It was part because the job was so easy. And part of it was to, really in some ways not be isolated, working a business, because the video game business, I was doing a lot of it digitally, and that's quite a lonely experience. So actually going to work, surrounding me with other people and give me like a sense of normality. Yeah. And after a few years, I left the council, took redundancy when austerity hit and was like, right, what do I want to do? So I went and spent 6 months working, helping unemployed people back into work. And I was like, you know what, this is good. I feel good doing this, helping people. And it's given me different skills. But after 6 months, again, it's like, right, maybe I want a new challenge. So I ended up working for a sports agency and working in elite football. So I ended up taking my qualifications and working within elite football, which was a, what can I say, a world-changing experience. If you manage to see how much money, how much experimentation, what you do to get that level of performance, and how much, what it's like on the cutting edge. And they are spending millions of pounds and testing so many different things to get that like 0.1% on a Saturday afternoon. And that really opened my eyes up to like what's possible. But it also made me think, damn, what if we spent all this money on normal people?
Yeah.
Like, I could make 1,000 athletes for the cost of this one. It's like, so yeah, that kind of, I was in quite a good place then. I just got married, had my son. So life was pretty good. Business was successful. And obviously I was pretty busy. I was pretty full on. But then that kind of hit the point where I hit like the biggest challenge of my life so far. And that kind of led me on a whole different path.
You mentioned there's a lot of things to talk about, obviously, but one thing you mentioned there, I think was quite important to touch upon was the autism. Like, how did that sort of impact you, or was it not? Because personally, I see it as more of a gift almost. But how, in your eyes, obviously, how do you see it?
Yeah, so I mean, it's only recently that I've come to terms with it, and it's difficult because I've never been diagnosed, and the reality is it wasn't really well known back 15 years ago. It was like, you were either Rain Man or you were a mute. Yeah. There was nothing in between. Yeah. So I'm like really high functioning, and that means I can build strategies in, but I'm not neurotypical, so I don't tend to think like most other people do. Right. And that means that in some ways I have to change my thinking to fit in a little bit. So what kind of happened is I was struggling around like the frameworks because I need to build frameworks to replicate, like to fit into society, because otherwise you don't want to be too odd. and now it's a bit more open, a bit more tolerant. But we're talking 20 years ago here, and like, I mean, God knows, no one even knew lactose intolerance existed back then. So literally, like, the world was so different. No one was like aware of anything, and neither was I. I couldn't just go and Google things, and it was very difficult to find people to talk to. There wasn't the support groups. There was none of that. So I was just like, oh, this is just me. I'm just going to carry on. And unfortunately, that kind of puts a bit of a burden on you when you're constantly not being yourself more often than not. And I think that built up over my teenage years and led me to struggle. And I kind of look back on it and think, well, that's my journey. And those struggles have made me grow as a person. So it's not a bad thing. It's just me. And if anything, because it's just me, I've actually suffered a bit, and that's made me grow more. So that's my journey.
Yeah, nice. 100%. I agree with that. Like, the things you face that are sort of negative early on, probably the earlier the better, really, because like you said, you sort of learn from it and it makes you such a better person afterwards, right?
Definitely. And I think that for so many of us, like, I think modern parenting, you try and stop your kids from ever failing, ever struggling. And that's what a good childhood is now, but in some ways it's not, because you can't handle mistakes, you struggle with failure. And when you struggle with it, you can't take the bits of good from your mistakes and your failures. You can't look back and detach the emotion a bit and think, you know what, it was just an experiment. It didn't work this time. What didn't work? Probably don't do that again. What can I take forward? Take that. And that's kind of how you run businesses. That's how you get better in life and grow as a person. But if you're not given that opportunity, then all you face when you actually hit that bump in the road is like, oh my God, I'm going to panic, I'm going to be stressed. Like, oh crap. And it's like, we've got to let ourselves fail, and we've got to let ourselves think negatively sometimes. It's not all positive. And our life is like, it's like an ECG. Our heart's constantly up and down. That's what life's like. That's what business is like. Nothing's ever a straight line up. It's just, yeah. And I think the sooner people kind of grasp that life is going to be pretty rough sometimes, then you become more accepting, more open, and use the rough times to bounce back more.
100%. And talking about the bumps in the road, would you mind telling us a bit more about what happened in 2014, was it, with the walking issue?
Yeah, so in 2014, I was, at that point, working in elite sport, business was good, son were 18-month-old, my wife was 6 months pregnant, expecting my daughter. And then over the course of a weekend, I literally went from fully independent, fully mobile, playing five-a-side with the lads, to being in hospital bed, both my knees, my shoulder, and my wrist locked in place, and unable to walk, unable to shower, unable to look after myself. And what had happened is my immune system had attacked the connective tissue in my joints, blew them up into like balloons, and literally locked them in place. So I was in agony. It was a rough time, and I was there. Like, my wife was coming after work. She was just about to start maternity leave, coming after work to help the nurses shower me. I was like, it was hard, because in a lot of ways I'd gone from fully independent to dependent on everyone else. And, I was there. I mean, looking back, the only good thing was World Cup 2014 had just started. So I watched all the group games from a hospital bed, because I couldn't go anywhere else. Keep putting £5 on the hospital TV like that. We're going to get 3 group games tonight. But yeah, I was on morphine and tramadol because I was in so much agony.
Wow.
And to be honest, most of the time I weren't even there. But yeah, what kind of happened is I had that initial shock, and they were trying to diagnose me. They drained all the fluid off my knees. It was rough, but I started to grieve a bit for my walking, because I was like, this don't look good. Like, I can't move. But then at the same time, I started to think, damn, I've been so ungrateful for like everything that I've had. And I'm like, okay, so maybe I'm just going to have to look at this as not like, oh my God, why has this happened to me? Why me? I'm only 29. It's not fair.
Yeah.
I said to myself, you know what, you're going to need to say, right, this has happened. Nothing much you can do about it now, but you can get back on your feet, get back well again, and get back to where you were. You just need to have the mindset to do it. So got discharged from hospital and pushed on with my walking rehab and my physio, and kind of said to myself, like, when my daughter's walking, I'm walking as well. So I kind of took that really powerful why, and, managed to make a little bit of progress every day, and kind of said to myself, I'm going to take ownership of this disease. Like, I'm going to be accountable to me, and not sit in a wheelchair, take my meds and think it's going to be all right. I'm going to be up there trying my best to get back on my feet. And that experience for me, like, it changed me as a person, made me realise so much you take for granted. And all the money I'd earned from the business was great, but it weren't going to fix my legs. I was going to fix my legs. Yeah. And it just made me look like, all of a sudden I had my, cause I'd gone through a bit of a period where I was like, oh, I've got all this money and I'm so young, it's great. But went and bought a Range Rover, like, loving life. And then I was like, a Range Rover ain't no use if you can't walk.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
So it was like, made me think, actually, I probably don't need all these things. And if anything, life's a journey, and I'm on quite a rocky road right now. But I got back up on my feet, got back walking. I had some problems with my back. My vertebrae were pushing together because my walking weren't 100% right. So I went back into physio, but I got myself started. And before my daughter started walking, I was walking too. And I was there, like, that mindset, that resilience. You can get anything if you just want it enough. You've got to want it, and you've got to have that burning why inside to go and get it.
Well, that was going to be one of my questions there. Like, you sort of touched upon it. How much of that process, sort of the recovery process, how much do you think was sort of, maybe not all to do with mindset, but how much you think was sort of partially to do with the mindset you had just to not give up?
I think it's massive. I think if you kind of look at the process of that kind of recovery, you've got to have a really powerful why to keep going when you walking and you're falling over, when your legs just aren't working, when you wake up and you're just in agony. You've got to have that burning desire. And it's kind of like, if you have that burning desire and the willpower to keep going, and suddenly it's not a case of will I, it's a case of when will I. Yeah. And your communication with yourself almost becomes positive. I will be walking. I'm going to be there. It's my journey. I'm not going to sit in this chair. I'm not going to be limping round. I'm going to walk. I'm going to get back to where I was. And that kind of mindset, it's massive. I mean, it's more than the physical rehab, the mental rehab that you have to go through, the mental challenges, because you can talk yourself out of doing anything. And that's, you know, it's so prevalent. And if you honestly believe that you can't do something, you won't do it.
And I think
have belief.
Yeah, exactly. And I think even if I've done it before, I've gone to do something and I've almost done it half-heartedly, because in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, oh, do I really want to do this? Or what about if I fail? But I think to some extent, if you start thinking about failure, you've already put yourself on the route to failure almost. You need to really pull yourself back to actually win.
Yeah. And I kind of think that one of the really good ways for people to frame it is, say at the top of elite sport, such as tennis, they're all amazing athletes. Whoever wins on that court is whoever's just got the mind right on the day. Because they fine-tune every element of the body. You know, their whole life is designed around hitting those balls. And really, the best are the people who can win that inner game, you know, get the psychology right. When they start to lose, they don't lose their head. They just think, you know what, lost that one. There's another ball coming at me. I'm going to hit this one. And it's like getting that mentality. And like golfers, especially, they're massive on mindset, because when you hit your ball in the bunker or into the rough or in the water, it's easy to be like, oh God, it's gone.
Yeah.
You have to completely like wipe your mind and say, right, that's one, that's gone. Next shot, all good.
So, do you think mindset's almost like the cherry on the cake then? Like you said, you could be the best at your game, you could be physically the strongest, but if you don't have that mental sort of capacity, like you said, if you're coming against someone who's equally as strong as you, it literally just comes down to the mentality, doesn't it, I guess?
I think it's mindset that separates the good from the great. And I think that in terms of talent, like all these people have talent, and they put effort into that talent, and that talent becomes skills. They put effort into the skills, that becomes achievement. And if they tie achievement into mindset, that's how you get greatness.
That's amazing. That's definitely a little clip. I'm definitely going to clip that and put that all over my social media. That was great.
Yeah, that's my formula right there.
Yeah, I love that. You mentioned something a bit before that as well about the coronavirus. About the Range Rovers, and you realise, wow, is the Range Rover really worth it? And that made me think, like, with this coronavirus lockdown, a lot of people I've seen, like specifically on Instagram, people selling their designer goods. And it's made me think, has there been like a massive paradigm shift where everyone's like, okay, we're down to sort of the bare necessities, I guess, or bare essentials now. Like, does this designer hoodie really mean anything to me? Do these designer shoes offer any value to me? And I think people perhaps maybe are going back to a sort of stripped down mentality where they're looking at what really counts.
Yeah, I kind of think that when your freedoms are taken away, so at the moment, you know, suddenly the choice of going out and doing things is gone. The choice of going seeing people is gone. You know, we've been told, right, there's a lot of things that you're restricted to do. What that kind of does is it means that people have a lot of time to reflect on their own purpose and why they're here and what they want to do. And that kind of clarity of being, you suddenly around these, you know, your goods and your environment all the time. And you start to see all these things and you're like, you know what meaning have I attached to this? Is it possibly more than it should be? And then people start to look and think, well, you know what? Maybe in some ways we're going back to basics a bit. Like suddenly I'm grateful for being able to go out and do whatever I want, and I can't do it. So what do these materials, this hunk of metal, you know, what do they actually mean? And people are starting to think, you know what, maybe it's just not all about that. Maybe there's something bigger out there to chase. And I definitely think that the kind of culture's changed, and people are starting to think, well, you know, is it that important? There's definitely some people who are shopping out of boredom, and that's happening on the other side. Yeah. But it's definitely helping some people to like dial into, you know, who am I? And these clothes, I'm using them to represent an identity that I want to put forward to the world. But actually, is that important when I'm not stepping outside my door every day? I'm in my house. I'm in my house in my like half pajama hoodie. Like I'm not bothered. Like these, all my nice gear. I paid £1,000 for these shoes. I ain't stepped out in them in 6 weeks. Like, what's going on? And it just makes you think. Like, roll back to basics a bit. Are all these things exactly who I am? Maybe not. But we're definitely getting a lot of time to think about that, and that's making people, reassess exactly where they're at.
100%. I can't help but notice as well the massive logo behind your head. So let's get on to that then. Let's talk about Essentialize, what it is and what you do.
Yeah, so Essentialize split into 2 different functions. So we have a coaching business where I go and coach individuals, usually entrepreneurs and small business owners, to start looking at their own lives and their own growth in relation to the business. Ultimately, our business is always a vehicle for our own goals. And if your business is successful, you make some good money, you grow, you scale, and that can make you more of who you are and grow as a person. But I think one of the biggest things I say is it's easy, and I did this a bit when I was growing the video game business, to neglect your own personal growth.
Yeah.
And you don't want to end up as your business being a 7.5-ton wagon and you being like half asleep, not eating properly, and like dazed at the wheel. And what you actually want is, you want to be in good shape, you want to have slept enough, you want your mind right, you want to know exactly where you're driving to on that motorway, with your staff and your collaborators in all the cars next to you driving in the same direction, thinking that you're not going to crash into them and wipe them out, knowing where you're going and feeling that, you're all going on a journey together to up the motorway to somewhere bigger. And it's kind of like, so it's getting them to connect with what's your personal, direction. Where do you want to go? What mountain do you want to climb in your life? What do you want people to say about you, when you're dead, in your eulogy? They don't want to say, oh, he made £10 million. Yeah, people could say, oh, no one's going to be bothered about it. It's what impact did you make on the world? Who were you as a person? People aren't going to be talking about money at your funeral, that's for sure. Not going to be saying, oh, yeah, you had a sports car. No one's going to be remembering that when you're dead. So, yeah, it's about getting them to think about the personal legacy and what direction they want to go. Then looking at the sleep, the nutrition, the movement, to make sure they're looking after the body. Like, I can say that again, like from my personal experience, a Range Rover is not good when you're in hospital. Like all that money is not going to save you when your body and your mind are your biggest assets, and it's important never to forget that.
Well, I think we're a lot bigger than, like what you mentioned there. We're a lot bigger than just us. Like, I always think this, like especially recently, like once I die, someone else will just come and take my place. Like, unless I make something worthwhile, substantial, that lasts and sort of has a legacy, then I am just sort of a vehicle behind all that. Like, I'm not really the main sort of attraction here.
Yeah, exactly. And to be honest, when we're creating a business, what we're actually creating is a story. And if you create a story that helps people, that changes the world, you'll be remembered for that story. And that's kind of what we dial into with business owners. Like, they're not going to remember you unless you built a story which helped other people, which changed the world, which did something memorable. And if that's what you want, some people want to fly under the radar the whole life and don't want to be remembered, and that's absolutely fine. You can connect to that and still do great work without having to be, in the limelight. But if you want to be in the limelight, create that story, make that change, disrupt an industry, do things different, stand out there and be an exemplar for who you want to be and what you want to change. Be iconoclastic. Don't just follow everyone else. Be the leader who makes other leaders from the people around them. Be the one who starts the party and has everyone coming, not following you, but also looking to start their own parties as well.
So I liked a tagline I saw attached to your business somewhere. And it's bringing cutting edge science to offices, I think was the tagline. With the cutting edge science, like, what are some of the techniques and some of the things you do? Obviously, you don't have to reveal too much, but what are some of the things you do to actually sort of build this mindset within the businesses?
Yeah, so I mean, this goes into the other section of Essentialize, which is a workplace wellbeing company. So we go into organizations, usually SMEs, and we run a program where we build awareness around physical and mental health. And that's kind of utilizing the latest knowledge from environmental psychology and neuroscience, making people more aware of how the minds work, how sleep and nutrition work, and how they all actually work together. So your body and mind is heavily interconnected, and we often just look to improve one thing at once. So my system's about improving all these things a little bit, all at the same time, so they compound together. And we work with leadership and management to build cultures where, you know, you're not just looking out for the money, but you're actually looking for your investors, for your employees, for your collaborators and your clients, and also for society in general. So you're actually looking to impact more than the bottom line, and also kind of how to ensure that your employees, because the way things are going, employees are going to go onto company balance sheets. So there'll be an asset that you can look after and they'll keep the value. You can train and they'll increase. Or if you don't look after them, they're going to drop in value, probably leave. So it's like getting that culture of looking after your employees, but also helping them to understand that they need to look after themselves. So building that awareness, giving them responsibility, but also building a culture of care and a culture where people are open to be developed and trained and, you know, willing to go to the boss and say, you know, let's do something here. I've got some good ideas.
Well, that's a good point. Sorry to interrupt there, like about the responsibility, because I often think like, considering what work does for us normally in terms of like making sure our mental health is okay, like just from my experience, isn't that much like traditionally. But when you think you spend the majority of your day and probably the majority of your life in these offices working for somebody else, like how much of a responsibility should these business owners have for their employees?
Well, to be honest, it's big, and legislation is changing, but a lot of what I do is around the environment of workplaces and the environment of sleep. Because happily be, on an average day, you spend 14 hours sleeping and working. So that's where we spend most of our lives. So they're really important environments to look at. So yeah, I mean, what's happened is over the past 10 years, musculoskeletal illness has gone down. So people have been having less days off with bad backs, with workplace injuries, as companies have become really, you know, strict on making sure that, you know, health and safety is in place and people are not having the accidents they are, and people's chairs and desks are set up, including yours. And yeah, so those sickness hours have dropped by 7 billion working hours. So that's a big change. There's a lot less sickness due to injury, due to physical health. But at the same time, mental health awareness is becoming more prevalent. People are understanding how stress and anxiety are affecting them. More people are aware of depression and how that manifests itself. So as the hours have gone down, it's 6 billion hours increased in mental health sickness.
Wow.
So it's completely swung, which means that now suddenly people are taking mental health first aid course and bringing mental health awareness in, which is great in principle, but it needs to be embedded in the company. Like, there's no point training a few mental health first aiders if your company leadership doesn't let people speak open and honestly. People don't think they can. And sometimes it's about, especially when you're working with a group of like construction lads, they're not going to stand there and be like, have like Edna speak to them about how she went through corporate burnout and this is, you know, this is the signs of mental illness. They're going to be like, oh, what's this woman got to do with us? We're not going to go and stand there and talk about suicide. Why do we want to talk about that? It's make us upset. So it's about actually engaging the people who need to speak about it, because unfortunately young men are at such risk of suicide and the pressures upon us are ever increasing, especially with social media and the comparisons that we take. And even entrepreneurship itself can drive people to serious mental health issues as you hustle yourself beyond the point where it's healthy for you. And sometimes it's counterproductive to hustle so hard. Yeah, there's hard work involved in setting up any business, but you've got to find that sweet spot, because otherwise you're no use if you burn out.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think that's something I was actually going to mention, because I try not to on my page. I try and promote like the mindset of keeping active, working hard, but I try not to cross the line, like you mentioned, of burning yourself out, because I think a lot of other pages, and especially like the higher profile entrepreneurs like the Gary V's and the Grant Cardones or whoever it is, a lot of them, they sort of give off the wrong impression that you need to work yourself into the ground. So yeah, I definitely think there's an important message to say, work hard, but know your limits, perhaps.
Yeah, it's kind of like the old principle of working smart, leveraging other people's experience and getting out of your own way. Because you're not going to be a master of everything, but you will technically be brilliant at some things. When you first start your business, especially if you've not got any funding, you're doing everything. You've got a lot of hats. It's stressful. And you have to work hard. But you work hard, you get to that point where you can grow a little bit and delegate some of the things or automate some of the things that you were previously doing to give you a bit more capacity. And then you continue to do the things where you bring value and bring more and more people in. So you only end up doing where you bring the most value, instead of trying to do everything and stressing yourself out, because the more it grows, you stretch yourself way, way too thin. And it's really difficult because, like you say, there is some people in the entrepreneurial industry who will basically, to say the only way to sell you a course for $2,000 is to tell you, I have a secret way to make it easier for you to get rich, because I want to tell you that there's a secret system. I've been there and I've done it, and I can tell you how. Like, as humans, we love shortcuts. Yeah. You know, we love the idea that there's a system there. This person, we know they've done it, so it must work, right? But the reality is entrepreneurialism is not a system. It's incredibly complex. There's so much luck involved, being in the right place at the right time, you know, finding the niche, or being a generalist, but there's a real balance there. And in so many ways, it's a massive amount of luck for most entrepreneurs that you speak to who are open and honest about it. And then there's a sprinkle on top of leveraging other people's hard work and a little sprinkle of your skills on top as well. It's not this, oh, this person's amazing and, you know, they've created this. Because behind every entrepreneur, there's hundreds of people who've helped them along the way. And we love the idea of like this self-made billionaire, self-made man, self-made woman. Yeah, it's not even true. No one's made themselves. God, they came out of someone's womb. They made themselves.
I love that. You mentioned social media there as well. And I think it's important, especially in like a social media driven generation that we're now seeing. I think it's important to address that, if you don't mind. But I also think that because of that, people growing up with social media, they try and pluck out the people that have made it or look like they're making it, which is probably often the case. Like you mentioned, they probably haven't made it, and they're just giving off that facade that they have. And I think people look for that, one, to live probably vicariously through them, and they want to sort of almost have their dreams sort of shown to them in like some sort of form. But two, to also get that, like you said, like the shortcut. They want to find out, oh, how did he get that company, or how did he get £1 million? So I think, if you don't mind, just addressing that social media topic a little bit more.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's really difficult. I mean, I've done some research into it, and social media is designed with our evolutionary psychological hooks in place. So they're designed to keep us coming back for more. They're designed to keep us on that platform for as long as they can, because that's how they monetize us. And it's really challenging because we are, as animals, designed to socially compare. And this was from back in the days when we were hunter-gatherers and we went out hunting together in tribes. And if everyone decided, oh, I don't like this guy, he'd end up on his own, and we're hopeless hunters on our own, because we're designed to run down animals so they get so tired we can just, rip them apart. So whoever got outcast from the tribe died. So we've got a real innate desire to kind of be part of the tribe. And like you say, there's some people who've made an awful lot of money. A lot of it quite often is clever marketing and clever branding. Yeah. And that gets people to give them even more money. Like I said, there's other people who put on the facade, they rent the Lambo and rent the Airbnb and take loads of pictures, and that's the content for the next year. Getting loads of young people, wanting a similar thing. Some of them are doing like things that are not particularly ethical to make the money, getting young kids to sign up to gambling and trading and Forex and all these things. And it's like, it's quite a murky world out there when you actually take a deeper look. But then again, that's some of the pitfalls of generations, and every generation has its own challenges. Like social media can be used for good, and social media brings people together in times of crisis to do, things that are really, really, really quite positive. And sometimes it's just really taking that step back and thinking, what do I want? Do I really want to be a follower of other people, or do I want to set my own path and just be me? And sometimes it's just nice to just sit there and think, I follow these people, that's fine, but all these pictures of them flashy here and popping this champagne cork, well, what's he doing an hour before that when he's having an argument with his girlfriend? Or when he's fallen over? It's like the problem, especially with social media, is we only ever see that tiny micro bit of people's lives that they manage, and that presents a story, meaning that you never see all the difficulties and all the challenges they face and all the real things that they actually go through.
Yeah.
And even worse, when people look back on their own social media, they then think that their lives were perfect 3 years ago because they forget the bad bits and only see the good bits.
Yeah.
And then they feel bad about their own life now because there is challenges every day. And it kind of almost blinds you to the reality. Like, you look back on your social media and you see everything that's good. You look on other people's social media and you see everything that's good. You see such a body on holiday and you're like, why am I not on holiday? And it can fuel frustration and it can be difficult. I suppose it's really important to be mindful that it's been built to trigger you, and that's why it's free. And in the UK, we don't tend to question why stuff's free. We've got the NHS, we've got benefits, we've got quite a lot of things that you can get for free. Whereas in America, they're a lot more like, wait a minute, why are these things free? We've got to pay for everything.
Yeah.
So what are we actually giving them here? Yeah, sometimes you just got to think, social media is great, it's free, you can get yourself out there. And I think the other thing as well is all these famous people you see, these famous musicians, you don't see the grotty pub that they had to sing in 10 years ago and all the busking they've done and all the gigs they've done where there's been like 2 people there. You don't see that. You don't see the athlete who's give up all the life to just train for this one event, not going out, not seeing the friends, not eating what they want, and it's like, you've got to sometimes think, all these people who, when they suddenly make it, they've made it. You've not seen all the hard work behind it. You've not seen the sweat, the sacrifice, the tears. And if you want it, that's probably where it's going to be. But if you're passionate enough about it, you'll do it. You won't work yourself into the ground. You'll do it in a methodically planned, sensible way. But if that's your destiny, you've got to get on that path. And all these people at the top of the mountain, they got there by climbing that mountain. They've not just been helicoptered in. Only very few have, if they've got, so much wealth behind them, they can be helicoptered in.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be very nice, I guess, if we were that lucky to all be in that helicopter with everyone else, but just not the case, is it? It's just not the case.
No.
But how practically, how can we as young people, how can we change our mindset and sort of get the most out of it, really? Because it's such a powerful tool, like you've clearly mentioned.
Yeah, in many ways, it comes down to asking yourself questions. Now, the problem is, in education, all the way through, it's all about answers, all about the exams at the end. What's the answer? Oh, well done, you've got all the answers. You've got all the answers right, or you've got half the answers right. Here's a piece of paper that says you can move on to the next part of life. Answers aren't that handy, though, when you're an adult, because the answer, you can Google an answer. It's there. What we actually need to practice, especially when we're younger, is asking good questions and asking good questions of ourselves. So the more powerful question you can answer, the more powerful the answer will be. And if we can start asking ourselves powerful questions, then we can start digging deep into ourselves and start understanding ourselves better. And the more we understand ourselves, the more we know what's our direction, what's our purpose, what's our missions that we're going to undertake. And when you kind of get that alignment and you're on the right path, yeah, there's going to be obstacles, yeah, there's going to be challenges, but there's a lot of energy behind it when you know you're waking up in the morning and I'm living my life. Because at the moment, so many people, they wake up in the morning, you look at the phone, straight onto the email, into other people's life, check the news, everyone else's life, but they've woke up and they're straight in. Whereas I always say to my clients, wake up and go and do something in your life. Go and read a book, listen to a positive podcast. Listen to If Only They Know. If only they knew. And just listen to the snippets and positive straight in, not someone else's world, but positive things that you can take. Go and walk around the block, do a bit of exercise, yoga, meditation, prayer, silence, or whatever, but something that, you're not going into someone else's world, gives you the time to think in your world before you go out into a world full of other people. And at the same time, just try and get enough sleep, because we're hopeless if we've not slept enough.
Yeah. Well, I go to bed about like 9 or 10 and wake up about 7, half 7. So I think that's more than enough, probably.
Yeah, that's sensible, Ted.
Yeah, thanks. You mentioned there talking about being on the right path. How about you then? What's next for you? You clearly, it seems like you've been on the right path. So what's next for you in terms of yourself and the business? Yeah,
so we're currently expanding out and going into bigger companies. And I've been on a journey to find a few other people who see the world the same way that I do, collaborators who understand how well-being is, but understand how to bring that into a business context. People who've got a story and a journey like me and who've actually lived it. So, I've got a few people who've got that lived experience, they've got the qualifications, they understand how to navigate the corporate world. And we're now looking to take Essentialise and our brands into bigger businesses and make more impact and more different on people's health outcomes, on company culture. In many ways, we want to go and change the world so that things become more sustainable, more regenerative, and we start thinking about not just the money, but society, people we work with. And really, my main aim is that if I can get people leaving work relatively happy, they'll go home, be happy with the relationships, they'll be happy with the kids, they won't be losing the rag on the road, and they'll go and they'll spread a bit of happiness. And it only takes a small change in people. And if they're not worried about the mental health all the time, they're not worried about the physical health and their aches and pains, then they can give so much more to everyone. So that's kind of, we're looking to spread that word, get people's well-being up, especially in times like this, so that, when it comes to it, they can give more to other people. And that's what the mission is.
That's amazing, mate. And I've been eagerly anticipating this final question to you ever since like the early stages of this podcast, because you sort of mentioned it a little bit earlier on. But when it's all said and done, what do you want your legacy to be?
So I want my legacy to be the man who made the world a little bit happier. And that's what I want people to say at my funeral. He took his gifts, he tried, he fell down numerous times, but when he left, the world was a happier place.
Oh, mate, I love that. I want to stand up and applaud, but I'm too comfortable in my chair. I'm afraid to get up. Last thing, it's been a pleasure having you on. The floor's now yours. If there's any messages you want to get out there, anything you want the people listening to go and do, i.e. follow your company, please just, the floor's yours.
Yeah, super. So you can follow my work. I blog at leechambers.org and www.essentialise.co.uk. You can follow me on Insta at Essentialise Coach and Twitter at Essentialise. And I'm personally writing a book, which will be out later this year. So if you want to check that out, I'll put the title in the show notes so you can see that.
I love that, mate. Thank you very much. Like I said, it's been a pleasure having you on. I feel energized. I've been feeling a bit down this week, so it's good to have you on. I'm feeling really pumped now. I'm sort of excited. I want to carry on, do some more work after this. Thank you very much for coming on. Honestly, it's been a pleasure, mate. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's been a privilege, Ted. Keep up the good work.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
If only they knew, the hub for young business minds.